Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Resident Evil 2 Claire A. In the last part we started off the game and got here to the RPD, and now we're going to explore this place a little bit more and find some more stuff in it. However, we're going to take the only path we really can at this point and head up here, because early game Resident Evil 2, especially Claire A, there aren't many paths you can take. It's very closed off. And hey, a puzzle, but before we do that, check behind the pre-rendered statue for some handgun bullets. Resident Evil 2 was the game to really start putting ammo everywhere, but in fact, something that a lot of people criticized the Resident Evil series for, especially from like 4 onwards, is that it got really action-heavy, when in reality, the transition into more of an action-based series has been happening since 2. It's just the fact that 2, 3, Code Veronica, and such had a lot more horror elements than action elements in them. Well, at least to balance it out, at least. Either way, this puzzle is very simple. I'll be reading the thing you're supposed to learn how to figure it out to do early in a second, but yeah, let's see what we have to do here. Something's written on the mounting. The god of the sun and the god of the moon. Their gaze upon me is the only thing that can release the red soul. Essentially, make the statues face the pre-rendered one, and you get the little jewel it's carrying. Very simple puzzles. In fact, I will say, Resident Evil 2, I think, while some of the puzzles are the easiest, I think it has some of the best puzzles in the series as well. But I'll get more into that later. Admittedly, with this puzzle, it is kind of hard to judge where you're standing with the statue because of the pre-rendered backgrounds, but overall, it's nothing too hard to figure out. It can just be a bit annoying. And now it dropped a statue. Or, no, it didn't drop the statue. That'd be kind of funny, though. It dropped the red jewel. Like Resident Evil 1, there are several times where we're going to be having key hunts. We have to search for these 2 or 3 items you need to open a certain door. I will say on a whole, though, 2 I think has the best because the RPD is smaller than the mansion in Resident Evil 1, but it's a lot more interesting as well. And welcome to the S.T.A.R.S office. Chris's diary. August 8th. I talked to the chief today once again, but he refused to listen to me. I know for certain that Umbrella conducted T-virus research in that mansion. Anyone infected turns into a zombie. But that entire mansion went up in that explosion along with any incriminating evidence. Since Umbrella employs so many people in town, no one's willing to talk about the incident. Looks like I'm running out of options. August 17th. We've been receiving a lot of local reports about strange monsters appearing at random throughout the city. This must be the work of Umbrella. August 24th. With the help of Jill and Barry, I finally obtained information vital to this case. Umbrella has begun research on the new G virus, a variation of the original T virus. Haven't they done enough damage already? We talked it over and decided to fly to the main Umbrella HQ in Europe. I won't tell my sister about this trip because doing so could put her in danger. Please forgive me, Clara, when in reality probably telling us would have saved us a bit of trouble there, Chris. Great. And we get a unicorn medal. That is a key for something we're going to need. But yeah, this is the S.T.A.R.S office. If you actually look at all the desks, you can actually find stuff that would belong to any specific member. I actually really like this place. And here's a picture of the members. If you look on the right there, we got Chris, Barry, Wesker, that guy who got mauled, Jill, and a lot of other people. It's trashed. Someone must have searched this desk. And you might be wondering why I'm investigating it several times in a row. Well, you'll find out once we hit time number 50 or so. One thing I do have to bring up about that file, though. I can understand if Umbrella employs somebody in town, people not believing him. But Chris, even though I know I played as Jill back in Resident Evil 1, at least the original, I still have to play the remake as Chris. You did have all those files you brought back from the mansion, unless you decided to use those as lighter fluid or something for a campfire in the middle of a camping trip, which is really stupid. So what's going on there, huh? Unless, well, maybe you didn't maybe canonically you don't find many of the files. And for checking it 50 times, we get a film. You might remember that last part, we found a darkroom. We can actually take that film there and any other films we find in the area back there to process it. And here we get the grenade launcher, which is Claire's big power weapon. I love this thing. Well then, fax machines are a bit outdated nowadays, aren't they? Ah, 90s. Federal Police Department Internal Investigation Report. Mr. Chris Redfield, Raccoon City Police Department, S.T.A.R.S Division. As per your request, we have conducted our internal investigation and discovered the following information. 1. Regarding the G-Virus currently in development by Umbrella. So far, it is unconfirmed that the G-Virus even exists. We're continuing with our investigation. 2. Regarding Brian Irons, chief of Raccoon City Police Department. Mr. Irons has allegedly received a large sum of funds and bribes from Umbrella over the last 5 years. He was apparently involved in the cover-up of the mansion lab, along with several other incidents in which Umbrella appears to have direct involvement. Irons had been arrested under suspicion of rape on 2 separate accounts during his years as a university student. He underwent psychiatric evaluation as a result of the charges, but was released due to circumstantial evidence, as well as a phenomenal academic standing. As such, extreme caution is advised when dealing with him. Jack Hamilton, Section Chief, Internal Investigations, United States Federal Police Department. Well then. Gotta love corrupt police officers in fiction. That's a trope at this point, isn't it? If it's not, it probably should be. Call it a hunch. Either way, now that we have that unicorn medal, we actually have to do a pretty decent backtrack back to the entrance to the police station, because that's where we can put that unicorn medal to use. Resident Evil 2, on the whole, I will say, is a lot better with backtracky stuff like this compared to Resident Evil 1, but there is still some of it. Thankfully, as I said before, the RPD on the whole is much smaller than the mansion in Resident Evil 1, so we don't have to worry about much. Plus, I can finally go develop that film. You know, thinking about it, there's nothing really that really screams 90s more than a dark room, because we don't see much of these anymore. A lot of stuff is digital nowadays. Though I get reminded of that show Fillmore whenever I see one for some reason. I don't know why. And by developing that film, Recruit! Oh my. Wesker, did you have a guy boner for Rebecca? That's gross. Either way, in terms of a bit of backstory for what's been happening, I actually haven't done one of these in about a week plus at this point. Why? I was on vacation down in Cape Cod for a week, and I didn't bring my mic, so I was kind of recording-less, sadly. Oh well, I'd managed to get some new stuff. Oh god, hi. Jump scares. Dirty, dirty jump scares. But yeah, I was able to get some stuff recorded in terms of gameplay, and edited even, but no commentary, sadly. Which means I got a lot to catch up on. Oh, that's right, the liquor's in here. Liquors, I forget if I mentioned this last part because it's been so long. But they will only respond if you're either right next to them or if you run, because as you can tell, they are, if you couldn't tell by the CG last part, they are blind. They respond by sound. However, a good couple grenade rounds will take them out. The grenade launcher is actually really good, but the main draw it has is that it has several types of rounds. Grenade, flame, acid, so on and so forth. Don't use all of its ammunition first, though, because the handgun is more than enough to take out most of the zombies. Though on the whole, there is more ammunition in this game than all of Resident Evil 1. And there is an infinite ammo code you can do on the control settings screen where I went over to Type-C so I could press L1 to automatically aim at zombies. By going to the control settings screen, holding R1 and pressing square 10 times. I know it's in other versions, but I forget how you do it in those ones. Actually, if you want to have some fun, I recommend doing that, because then you can just blow zombies up with no problems. Pretty fun. An old fountain, something's written here. To obtain the key to open your heart, I'll wait for the unicorn, the beautiful beast. And for doing that, that's what the unicorn medal is for. We get the precinct key. Like Resident Evil 1's mansion, there are keys that can open up certain doors. And this game doesn't use the card suit. Well, actually, this game doesn't use chess pieces, no, suit pieces like Resident Evil 1 did. This game uses the 4 suits of cards. Heart, spade, club, diamond. Though, I'll tell you for a fact, unlike Resident Evil 1, some get used more than others. And now that we have that, I think that was the spade key. We can head back to the room where the S.T.A.R.S office was to get a bit more plot going. Well, first we actually have to check a room over here. When you get one of the 4 keys, you do have to check it to learn its shape, because by default they only show up as precinct key in the inner inventory, so that's a thing. Patrol report. September 20th, 9:30 p.m. Reporter Sergeant Neil Carlson. We received a report of suspicious individuals skulking around over the sewers in the outskirts of Raccoon City. I searched the area and located the individual, but he ran away before I could question him. I recovered the following items: a small amount of C4, an electronic detonator, 9x19 parabellum rounds, and an infrared scope that's broken. End of report. That's just so you can know what's around the place. That'll come in handy eventually, although I do have to wonder what parabellum is. I actually don't know that. I'm going to look that up. And there's an ink ribbon there. Like Resident Evil 1, you need those to save, but I won't be saving in either scenario in this game. And let's push this thing. Parabellum in terms of firearms. Oh, it's a machine gun. Got it. And there we got the crank, the Resident Evil staple that everyone loved back in Resident Evil 1, right? Thankfully, it's used only once in this game, and we'll see that eventually. By the way, I absolutely love Resident Evil 2's soundtrack. It's probably the most ominous one out of the original PlayStation games, but I just love it so much. Plus, it has this recurring 3 notes motif in a lot of the songs that I absolutely love. Though my favorite theme is the save room theme, as it was in Resident Evil 1. But that's just because I love piano pieces. Also, fun little fact, I think I mentioned last part, the Resident Evil 1.5 build that this game was originally going to be, the first version of Resident Evil 2. Fun fact about that, Claire wasn't in that. Leon was, but Claire wasn't. Claire's character was replaced by Elza Walker, who was a native resident to Resident Evil to Raccoon City. But they changed it for reasons that I'm not entirely sure of, honestly. I'll be looking that up, though. Random blonde girl in a Japanese schoolgirl outfit. In the middle of the United States. Okay, then. Gotta love cultural differences. And like Resident Evil 1, if the key has no more uses, the game will alert you to it and give you the choice to throw it away. That's pretty handy.
Leon!
Claire, you made it.
Yeah. Have you seen a little girl around here?
Yeah, you just missed her. Who is she?
I don't know. But it's too dangerous for her to stay here alone. Leon, I'll go look for her. You go and find us a way out of here.
Of course. But before I forget, here's a radio. That way we can keep in touch if something comes up.
Well, it's good to see he made it here alive. Yeah, like I mentioned though, he was in Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 1.5, and actually, if I recall, his personality was largely unchanged. So it's good to see that some remnants made it in, though, if I recall correctly, unlike the Resident Evil 2 we got, Elza's path and Leon's path in 1.5 did not cross at all, and they had different support characters. And flame rounds, those are pretty self-explanatory, flame-based grenade rounds. We'll be seeing more of those later, because I love using them against certain bosses. And welcome to the library. This place scared me when I first played the game a little bit, because sudden silence with a very haunting piano piece. Well, there's that, and jump scares. If I recall in the Resident Evil 1.5 synopsis I looked up, Umbrella had already closed down as well, so that's a pretty interesting change there. And now we have to switch this shelf. Notice something about the bookshelves? They look exactly like that plate I just investigated. So we have to make the bookshelves match the pattern on that plate. And to do that, just slide the left 2 bookshelves to the right once. It's very simple, and this puzzle should not really give you any trouble if you're paying attention. And now we can grab that thing. This is the, if I recall, it's called the red plate, Serpent Stone. This is one of Claire's long-term goals to get into one of the next sections of the game. We need to collect 3 of those kind of things, so it'll be a while before you can collect them. And red herbs, I forget if I mentioned this last part, but red herbs triple the effects of any herbs they're partnered with, so now that is the equivalent of 3 green herbs. And red herbs are one of your best friends in the late game, I can tell you that much, especially in the Claire scenario. And now we're back in the main hall. One thing I do recommend you do here is that there, I think a total maybe 5 or 6 zombies in here. Kill any of the ones that you cross in your path going in the direction I'm going right now. The 2 that are behind you once you come from the library, don't even think about bothering with them. That's not worth it. And here's an emergency ladder that we can press the button to lower. This gives us a shortcut from the bottom of the main hall to the top. Very useful. And with that, that's already more routes than all of Resident Evil 1, because Resident Evil 1 was very enclosed in its spaces in the mansion. This game feels a lot more open with it, and I actually really like that, because it adds more paths and choices. I know you're faking. Unlike Resident Evil 1, I think, zombies do twitch on the ground to try and make them seem like they're dead already, but like in Resident Evil 1, if you don't see that pool of blood, they are not dead. Though in some rooms where there's a ton of zombies, that can be kind of annoying because then they're hiding amongst others' blood. And if I recall, this is another save room. Yes, it is. Well, we got some decent stuff that we want to grab in here. Well, first off, I actually do want to go into the item box and either store some stuff away or get some stuff out. Yeah, I want to store stuff away because we won't be using the crank for a while. Flame rounds are useless, as is the serpent plate. Either way, in here we got the lighter, which we're going to be needing for something later on. And another file. Secretary's Diary A. April 6th. I accidentally moved one of the stone statues on the second floor when I leaned against it. When the chief found out about it, he was furious. I swear the guy nearly bit my head off, screaming at me never to touch the statue again. If it's so important, then maybe you shouldn't have put it out in the open like that. April 7th. I heard that all the art pieces from the chief's collection are rare items, literally worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't know which is the bigger mystery, where he finds those tacky things, or where he's getting the money to pay for them. May 10th. I wasn't surprised to see the chief come in with yet another large picture in his frame in his hands. This time was a really disturbing painting depicting a nude person being hanged. I was appalled by the expression of the chief's face when he learned at the painting. Why would anyone would consider something like that to be a work of art is beyond my comprehension. Well, that's the thing about art. It's up to interpretation. And even some really boring pieces, even in English, are regarded as artworks because reasons. And by that I mean I really don't like James Joyce. He bores me. English was never one of my better subjects. I'm decent at art, but not English. And that was me counting my inventory spaces because I knew what's coming up. This door is locked unless you unlock it from this side. Because you can actually come up to here beforehand, but I didn't with my path. Fun fact, the background music in this room is actually a lot of moans, and a lot of them are actually zombies, which makes me wonder, how loud are zombies screaming? And I hate this room because crows! But hey, this guy has handgun bolts for us, so that's pretty nice. Either way, run quickly and don't stray from your path, because jump scare crows! Crows actually really suck like in Resident Evil 1, even though they didn't really do much to me back in RE1. Because what they do is that they peck at you a lot, which causes you to stop and take a lot of damage, and that is a burning helicopter. Well, something happened here. I'm not sure what, but something. But if you actually check the room that the zombies were in after the previous save room, you'd actually see the front of that burning helicopter, and there's a door being blocked by it. So we have to get that helicopter put out. By the way, screw this female zombie. Because more often than not, she can get right in your path, and that sucks. And welcome to this little shack. I don't know what this place is supposed to be. I think it's like a generator room or something. I don't know. A lot of Resident Evil 2 does have stuff like this, and yeah, it's kind of strange. Though I have to admit, Resident Evil 2's pre-rendered backgrounds are absolutely beautiful. Much better than Resident Evil 1's, that's for certain. Though Final Fantasy IX, just due to how late in the console's lifespan it was, is still the best looking pre-rendered backgrounds. And here we get a bow gun, which is Claire's next gun. It's pretty strange, honestly. Well, how about that? The zombies just finally decided to come through a door. That's the only time in the game they do that, by the way, which is strange. Either way, the bow gun's a pretty interesting weapon. It can store up to 18 bowgun bolts. However, it fires 3 at a time in a bit of a spread gun like fashion from Contra. And if you're really up close with them, all 3 will hit, and it can do massive damage. In fact, it'll even land in the zombies' throats, which, just to indicate that. Either way, the massive thing that we got in that room wasn't the bowgun, it was that valve handle. We'll be using that throughout the game, but the first use is actually right here, because as we investigate this little thing here, water pressure valve, it reads, excessive pressure may rupture the water tank, which, as we know, could help put out a fire. So let's use it. And that's a fire put out, which means we can now explore that room beyond where that fire, the helicopter was on fire. Yes, that fire was on a helicopter. But if we check the helicopter wreck, there are, for some reason, handgun bullets that didn't go off in the fire. Game logic is a beautiful thing sometimes. And by sometimes, I mean 98% of the time, all the time. Thankfully for Claire, that's the last time we ever have to head over there, so the crows are now just a moot issue that we never have to deal with. Did I use the word moot there right? I don't think I did. Either way, we want to store that valve handle away for now, because we won't be using it for a while again. Again, for a while, rather. In terms of my personal history of Resident Evil 2, though, I didn't play this game until a bit later. I want to say I didn't play this until around 2006. I definitely have distinct issues of playing this at one point, because on a boat, because back when we finished 8th grade, a good amount of my class went on a cruise, and I remember playing this there with one of my friends who wanted me to dance instead. Guess which one I did? Yeah, I played Resident Evil 2 instead of dancing. I was a very bad social teenager. Well, I still am. And if I recall, I actually have distinct memories of my brother telling me a story where a friend of his and him played Resident Evil 2, like, when my parents were away at, like, a party or something, or, like, on a weekend sabbatical or something, I don't know. And they got scared shitless by this game, because, admittedly, while Resident Evil 2, like a lot of the games, isn't really scary, it does get really tense with some of the survival stuff. Also, fun little fact, because I just remember this by looking at Claire's costume, Resident Evil 1.5 didn't have alternate costumes per se, but it did have equipable armor to reduce damage and stuff, and that's really interesting. They would later bring that back in Resident Evil 4 with the survival vest in order to reduce damage. I really like it when games do that, too. Another little difference, by the way, from Resident Evil 1.5 is that Raccoon Police Department looked a lot more modern and realistic in the original game. But I'm actually really glad they went with this design choice, because it's a nice real design that I like. I like the Raccoon City Police Department design. Operation Report. September 26th. The Raccoon Police Department was unexpectedly attacked by zombies. Many have been injured, even more were killed. During the attack, our communications was destroyed and we no longer have contact with the outside. We have decided to carry out an operation with the intent of rescuing any possible survivors, as well as prevent this disaster from spreading beyond Raccoon City. The details of the operation are as follows. Security of armaments and ammunition. Chief Irons has recently voiced concern regarding the issue of terrorism due to a series of unresolved incidents. On the very day before the zombies' attack, he made the decision to relocate all weapons to scattered intervals throughout the building as a temporary measure to prevent their own possible seizure. Unfortunately, this decision has made it extremely difficult for us to locate all ammunition caches. It has become top priority to recover these scattered munitions. To unlock the weapon storage. As stated earlier, it will be extremely difficult to secure all the ammunition. However, considerable supply still remains in the underground weapon storage. Unfortunately, the person in charge of the card key used to access the weapon storage is missing, and we have been unable to locate the key. One of our breakers went down during the battle, and the electronic locks are not functioning in certain areas. It has become a top priority to restore the power in the power room and secure those locks. Recorder, David Ford. September 27th, 1 p.m. The West Barricade has been broken through and another exchange ensued. We sheltered the injured to the confiscation room on the first floor temporarily. 12 more people were injured in the battle. Recorder, David Ford. Additional report. 3 additional people were killed following the sudden appearance of an as of yet unknown creature. This creature is identified by missing patches of skin and razor-like claws. However, its most distinguishing feature is its lance-like tongue, capable of piercing a human torso in an instant. Their numbers as well as location remains unknown. We tentatively have named this creature Licker and are currently in the process of developing countermeasures as to deal with this new threat. So that's where the name Licker comes from. And for some reason, they keep that name later on, even though Licker, in terms of naming biological weapons, Licker is not the best idea for a name. A fireplace, an oil painting hangs above it. The title is A Sacrifice to the Hellfire. Burn, baby, burn. You know, that's a very strange way to hide a red jewel. But I'll take it, because more keys. And with that, we have both red jewels now. We can actually access a new little thing. Which I'm not sure if I'm on the way to, honestly. Because, while I have everything edited and recorded, I actually forget when I recorded this. So I've also forgotten most of the stuff I do. I remember the general gist of every part, but I forget what exactly happens for the most part as well. I forget exactly how they explain the fact that corpses go missing in this game. I think they use the exact same excuse as Resident Evil 1, that they degrade very quickly due to some chemical in the T-virus or something. I'm assuming if this game ever gets remade, well, actually no, there is a confirmed remake of this game going on. Though I doubt they'll go the Resident Evil remake direction. They probably will go more closer to Resident Evil 4, which, you know, I'm completely fine with as long as it plays fine and is a good game overall. I wonder if they'll keep, like, the Crimson Head idea from Resident Evil 1 remake. Oh god, Crimson-headed lickers. Ugh, that would be horrible. Because lickers, they are dangerous. It's just the fact that I can deal with them fairly quickly due to the grenade launcher. And other means later on as well. Either way, with that, though, we're about done for this part, if you couldn't tell by the timestamp. And with me checking my inventory one last time, I believe, no, I'm not even going to do that, I'm going to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 3, we'll be further exploring the RPD now that we have some new paths open, and hopefully find out some more about what's going on in this city. See you guys then.